Gemini. My name is Audrey Alison. Thank you for joining me, Gemini and Gemini Rising, for your May 2015 forecast for the month. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for tuning in and subscribing and liking and sharing these videos. I appreciate your support tremendously on this business endeavor. Let's start the month on the 3rd of May with our full moon at 13 degrees of Scorpio. And this will affect your 6th house of health and work or daily routine, your regimen. The full moon brings an ending to this area, so perhaps you just got rid of something that, a health issue that you weren't feeling really well, or, that's coming to an end. There's recuperation about to start. Or perhaps you ended an aspect or a facet of your job or the job itself, and you're about to embark on something new. This full moon squares Jupiter at 13 degrees of Leo in your 3rd house of communications. So this square brings a little bit of tension on the 3rd, between the 3rd and the 6th house, which is communications, writing, speaking, and then the 6th house of work. So if you're in your job, you are required to do a lot of public speaking and your presentations. The 3rd is not the best day, but you got to do what you got to do. Just be as clear and concise as you can. And less is more. Only say what you mean. Tensions can occur. Maybe it might be a little frustrating to get some information across that day. Or if you are receiving news regarding test results of health issues or x-rays, things like that, information, 3rd house, about the 6th house of health, it could be a frustrating day to deal with in the health realm with physicians and phone calls and things like that. On the 7th of May, Venus enters Cancer through the 5th of June, and we love this, Gemmy, because this is your 2nd house of money. Venus, the planet of money and love and beauty, entering the 2nd house of possessions and finance and self-worth. Beautiful. Through the 5th of June. So use her to your benefit. When she enters Cancer, she will trine Neptune at 9 degrees of Pisces. And eventually, she'll trine Chiron at 21 degrees of Pisces, the wounded healer, the asteroid that wants to heal over. And Venus wants to smooth over. So there's so much beautiful, dreamy Neptune, dreamy, nebulous energy, fantasy energy. When Venus enters Cancer, though, she ignites the cardinal signs of Libra, Aries, Capricorn, and Cancer. She'll square Uranus in Aries in your 11th house of friendships. So watch the tension in your relationships. It might not be how they are really existing. It just might feel a little bit off kilter with Venus squaring up to Uranus. Maybe friendships suddenly have tension, or maybe some of the groups you're in might have a membership due monetarily that you can't afford just then, but eventually you will. Something like that could apply. On the 11th of May, Mars enters Gemini, and this will be through June 24th. Now, this is your 1st house of self, so when Mars enters the 1st, you really have to watch the aggression, watch the temper and your anger, your frustrations. But the positive aspects of Mars in the 1st is that you get so much done. You get everything accomplished. You have energy, drive, will, determination. Mars is in direct opposition to a retrograde Saturn when he enters Gemini at 2 degrees Sagittarius in your 7th house of partnerships. So watch your anger in your relationships. If you're feeling frustrated, which is Mars, mixed with restriction, which is Saturn, and control, you might feel bound or a little bit, stifled. Mark the 11th to not make huge decisions or take action, even though Mars will want you to, because he is action and he's stationed in your 1st house of body, of self. Don't take action that day. Let the energies dissipate some, and in fact through that week, because the opposition will be there for a minute. It will be there for longer than just the day of the 11th. But what Mars does for the betterment of this positioning is you will have a lot of energy to work out. You could lose weight, you could sweat, you could you could really shed some unnecessary energy that might be attached to you, old energies. You can rid them through exercise and just sheer determination, because Mars is determination. On the 18th, we have our new moon at 26 degrees Taurus. And this is your 12th house, right before you, the very quiet house, your spiritual self, your inner reflection. The new moon of intentions in this very psychic house, house of dreams. You could initiate very silently something that you'd like to see happen to your spiritual self. Maybe you've lost some faith and you want that restored. Beautiful time for the new moon there. But this new moon opposes Saturn retrograde in Sagittarius as well, in that 7th house. Maybe it is that your relationship isn't believing in the same spiritual realm that you are, or there might be some discord in your partnership if you're in relationship, or your business partnership with your spiritual self. Maybe they're not meshing and you need to take heed of that. You don't have to take action just yet, because on the 18th, when we have this new moon, is the same day that Mercury retrogrades. Mercury will retrograde, your ruling planet, at 13 degrees of Gemini. Gemini, I'm with you on this, being a Gemini myself, by 29 degrees Gemini. This is a rough retrograde for us, and I can't sugarcoat this, okay? So cell phones, computers, cars, plumbing, everything technical, and all things that require a battery or some kind of, I just wish this wasn't in our sign, but you can't do anything about it. Watch all of your gadgets because they could go a little awry. And this is what also is interesting. This retrograde will last through the 11th of June. But Mercury goes direct at 4 degrees of Gemini on the 11th, which means he'll be with us in our sign all through June and until the 8th of July. So Mercury's usually only in a sign 20 days or so, 21 days, 3 weeks. So he's with us 8 weeks. What? Our ruling planet is coming home. He loves us. We are the first sign he governs, next to Virgo. And having the retrograde in the first house, though, you're not really saying everything that you really mean. You have to be clear and concise. And I said this in a lot of the videos, but less is more in a retrograde with speech. Make sure that everything that you're trying to relay is not passive-aggressive, it's not nebulous, it's absolutely direct, as opposed to Mercury, who will be retrograde. But, what happens here too, Gemmy, watch this. You're going to hear from lovers from the past, or people from the past. I want to say lovers, because the Gemini is the lover. That's our card in the tarot, the duality. So you could hear back, you could hear from past loves. Mercury brings in that nostalgia. What is unfinished? Who are you thinking of? The mind, the thought process is Mercury. So the thinking of lovers from the past, and since what you hold in your mind is what manifests, if you hold something long enough, it's going to come right back into your face. So keep that in mind. And you might want to answer those calls, you might not. So you have free will. It's completely up to you. But Mercury then, when he's direct, will be with you, replenishing this area of the first house of self, and you'll be good to go from the 11th forward in getting back to those messages, getting the speech together, returning calls, fixing the problems that went awry in the home. And then the sun enters Gemini on the 21st of May. Yay! So the sun in the first house of self is everything, because he'll be conjunct Mercury, and you'll be wanting to be very expressive, and the sun is the life force. So where he goes, the energy follows. And, your birthday's coming up. So happy birthday. Happy birthday to Geminis. So it's your time to shine, and the sun is with you. Let's see what the cards have to say. I'm using the Alchemical deck by Robert M. Place, my Steadfast deck. And in my tarot tasters, I use different decks. That's when I bring out some of the sparkly treats for my new moon tarot tasters. So you have to tune into those. But if you'd like to read with me, I'm available at audreyallison.com. And I'm also on Facebook at Audrey Allison Astrology and Tarot. Gemini, here is your first card in the tarot. It's the Strength card. Let me show you. So this is the sign of Leo naturally in the tarot, but what this means is that you're gaining some recuperative strength, maybe in that 6th house of health where you need to, the full moon is there and something might have been coming to an end. You're gaining your strength back. Plus, I love that. She's just straight up riding a lion. I like to do that on Saturdays. Okay, second card, the Lovers. Well, the Two of Wands, the loving energy. Mercury and Venus are on this card. The sign of Mercury, and then the symbol of Venus down at the bottom. Mercury, your ruling planet, showing up to say what's up. But this is also about Venus into Cancer in your 2nd house of finances. You have a really good relationship energy this month, but you also have shared resources energy this month. You might have really good financial support from a partner. And then this is what's up. Talk about financial support. The Queen of Coins is the master of her environment and occupation. And the last cards that fell up, I'm going to show you one at a time. Oh my gosh! The Magician, the goal of the work, magic itself. Wow. The Lovers card, that's the Gemini card. And then my favorite card, the 6 of Swords, the loving breeze, being led by a higher power, going with the flow of the retrograde. This is Mercury energy. The swords are mercurial, the energy, the mind, the intellect. I'm sorry, not energy, the mind, the thought, the thinking. Go with the flow of the retrograde and not against it. There is magic happening in your love department, and it's because you're gaining your strength back. The Magician is the goal of your work, the goal, what you wanted to accomplish in this department. And since you have this too, these are the Lovers. Gemmy, you're the Lovers, and both of these cards represent you. So there is something huge coming in, and I think Uranus might bring this in magically, just suddenly, shockingly. But, instead of focusing on that, that's going to happen. That's going to happen on its own with this guidance. Just kind of go with it, the loving breeze. But this is your focus too. If you focus on earning your own place and your own wealth and your own protection and your own health, this has no choice but to come in. ¿Entiendes? You get what I'm saying? I think it's going to be all right here. And plus, this card, this is the first card next after the Fool, which is the number 0, but this starts the Tarot. And the Magician has all 4 tools and all 4 elements at his disposal. He has the cup, the chalice, the sword, the pentacle, and the fire, the wand with him. So he has all the things he needs to make stuff happen. And your goal is coming to you because you're just like, hey, I'm strong now. I can get everything I set my mind to. And that's true. You can get anything you set your mind to. That's the whole purpose of life. Whatever you hold in your mind manifests. Just got to stay positive because you don't want to manifest any shady thoughts. All right, Jemmy, I love you. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm wishing you a sweet day. Happy birthday. And I will see you next month. Bye.